Well, it's time now to welcome our keynote speaker tonight, and to formally introduce him, please welcome back Malcolm Webb.
Thank you, Pauline. It really does give me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Damian Bates, the editor-in-chief of Aberdeen Journals and the Aberdeen Press and Journal, Scotland's biggest selling quality newspaper. I'd also like to take this opportunity, in fact, to pay tribute to the P&J for, frankly, its unsurpassed coverage of our industry. The quality, extent and intelligence of this fine paper's coverage on oil and gas is absolutely second to none. And frankly, given the general lack of awareness of what this industry does, this is a hugely valuable contribution to the debate, the worth of which is not to be underestimated. Damian's biography it's in your programme, so I won't repeat it here. But suffice it to say that in all my dealings with Damian over the years, I found him to be trustworthy, honest in approach, keen for the story, but also keen for the truth of the story. In short, an excellent journalist. His job, of course, is certainly not always to agree with us, and indeed it is, in part, to challenge us and to help us to understand the views of others, including, importantly, those outside our industry. We were therefore very pleased when Damian kindly accepted our invitation to speak this evening, and I, for one, greatly look forward to hearing his views. Please welcome Damian Bates.
Where's Les Linklater? I think we need a step change in safety meeting over the stairs. Okay, please yourselves. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your polite, if somewhat muted applause. Don't worry, I'm not offended. We all know that Malcolm was desperate for a big name this evening, and Bob Keeler was obviously very busy tonight, so I'm afraid that you're left with me. Anyway, I promise not to rattle on too long. There'll still be plenty of time to sink lots of wine and then bitch about who gets the awards when clearly it should have been you. Congratulations. Each and every one of you is part of one of the 20th century's biggest success stories, the extraction of oil and gas. You don't need me to tell you the progress that has been made in what is still a relatively short space of time since the first drop of black gold was sucked up from underneath the wild waves of the North Sea. What is interesting, though, is the impact that you have had and continue to have directly upon the lives of each and every citizen of the UK. Since 1969, your industry has, according to the Treasury's own statistics, handed over more than £300 billion for the Exchequer. I'll make it sound like you do so willingly, but I'm sure there's much wailing and gnashing of teeth. But hey, that's an awful lot of wind farm subsidies. I promise not to do any more jokes. Your economic contribution to the UK is 3 times greater than the car industry. But what plaudits and interest do you receive from our governments? Where would the UK be today if it hadn't been gifted that steady and massive source of income? Just where would the battle for the union be if there wasn't still significant revenues to fight over? And perhaps more importantly, why didn't anyone with common sense drive through some form of sovereign wealth fund to provide future returns, significant prosperity, and therefore a cushion for when the last drops of oil and gas are extracted from the North Sea continental shelf? We know we are many decades away from that, and we've probably as long a time frame to go in that endeavour than has been spent thus far pumping the stuff onto dry land. See, I have been listening to Trevor Garlick. Your industry currently employs, either directly or indirectly, 450,000 people across the UK. A staggering number that helps keep our nation moving. And many of those jobs will be around for decades to come. That's magic, right? Well, yes, but there's also a deep problem out there. The numbers employed in the sector continue to rise, and while the age profile is being rebalanced, there's still a long way to go before we get to the great shift change. Only this week, Professor John Perkins, in a review for the UK government, said much more needed to be done to bring in the next generation of engineers, particularly women, as demand rises. So how is that going to be tackled? The number of vacancies rises all the time, and the demand for skilled or even semi-skilled associated operatives is frenetic, with a troubling demand and supply imbalance and significant wage inflation stalking the sector. That's great for all you old buggers out there who can shift between firms who are crying out for your skills, but how sustainable is that in the long run? And what does it do to all those other occupations that this city and its suburbs rely on to support society? Anecdotally, we've all heard of the guys who can command six-figure sums with a raft of benefits to boot. But the latest one I've heard of is deeply troubling for anyone who's on the lookout for new staff, and that's football-style signing-on fees. One example I heard of was someone getting in excess of £50,000 just to sign on the dotted line, with a healthy salary to boot. That's surely madness in the long run, not healthy for the sector, certainly not healthy for wider society, and those of us seeking to employ people outside your world, and really not great for your external image. Now, while I'm sure you're all licking your lips and preparing your speeches to get your agents to tout around for a new club to sign for, the big question is, where is the next generation coming from? I think the industry-led survey to determine the reality of the skills gap is a massive step forward. The big issue is, what do we do with it after that? O&GUK has raised the external view of the industry to energizing the future. But what did you do to assist in that? The next generation is au fait with global warming, and they embrace renewable energy and the need to save the planet. The perception is that your halcyon days are behind you, and there's no future in it. And it's a dirty job. The money may be good, but what else is going to draw youngsters in and commit to dedicating themselves to your industry? And just as importantly, where is the cohesive, sector-wide message that says this is the job for you, that will gainfully employ you for the rest of your working life? Lots of you employ graduates and apprentices, but why are we not shouting it from the rooftops and highlighting the amazing work that is being done? It's a bit of a hobby horse of mine, this. Plug coming up. The Press and Journal can be a major player in helping you promote what is happening. We are, as I constantly stress, a critical friend to the industry. As an aside, when Danny Alexander came after you for more tax in an altered fiscal regime, the P&J gave him a real battering. And I've personally spoken to Danny and other cabinet ministers that they treat the industry with disdain at their peril. We continue to watch and ensure the UK government treats your industry with the support it needs and deserves. Anyway, the Press and Journal and its energy team, led by that wonderful eccentric Jeremy Cresswell, seeks to support you in practical ways. We produce for the first time ever standalone supplements, Young Energy and Energy Graduate. The aim was to give an insight into the industry to school kids making their option choices and to those at university trying to plan for a career. Both supplements were provided free of charge to educational establishments across Scotland. And our new Energy Voice website is providing video content, interviews, and video case studies for people to see what the industry is all about. Plug alert. That's energyvoice.com, by the way. Next year, as well as publishing more supplements, we'll be exploring a project to get you guys to sign up to hiring even more apprentices than you do already, committing to giving even more people the chance to join the sector in a major campaign, both in paper and online. We all need to do our bit. Worryingly, though, surveys suggest that youngsters do not see their future here in the Northeast. In one Access survey of 500 young people, less than a quarter saw their future in engineering or associated services. More concerning was the fact that almost 40% believe their future lay away from this region. Now, that's youngsters who are exposed to what you do day in and day out. Is it just the wanderlust of the young? Is it how we as individuals portray it? Or is it the prospect of a lost generation who may be turning their backs on this area? That's as big a threat and worry to me as it should be to you. We know the world sees Aberdeen as the energy capital of Europe, and rightly so. But who can blame our youngsters if they see their future elsewhere? Just what is there to keep them here? Money is a strong lure, of course, and we need to reinforce the messages about training, skills, and the global opportunities that will open before them, while ensuring they remain anchored in the Northeast, as well as Inverness, Shetland, and Orkney. But here in Aberdeen, at least, we are sometimes our own worst enemies. We are a city that's taken more than 50 years to agree on the route of a bypass, for goodness sake. We fight over the look and feel of our city centre buildings for fear of offending our forefathers, and we bicker over whether an underutilised, horticulturally bereft garden that only 5 or 6 years ago was earmarked for a string of needle bins for junkies should undergo some kind of revamp. Where is our vision for a brighter, more attractive, vibrant city, our balls and our appeal that enables us not to compete with Dundee and Glasgow, for goodness sake, but with Perth, the one in Australia, Singapore and Houston? You know you are operating in a global marketplace, and you and your people will be in demand around the world as new vast oil and gas fields are discovered to help power global recovery. So how do you ensure that the people who work for you want to continue to call this home? We're embedded here. We may scarper for a few years, but we always return. Hell, some of us married locals to keep us anchored here. In my case, I did it twice. Don't tell her, she'll kill me if I repeat that. But for others, that may not be the case. So we can't afford to remain still, to accept what we have is good enough, to deflect progress, and just believe that the jobs in oil and gas and the supply chain will be with us forever. As we stand still, socially, culturally, recreationally, others continue their momentum forwards. Economically, we're in a brilliant position, but we need to challenge our politicians and leaders at local and national level to be bold and show visionary leadership. We need to tackle rising costs of housing, but continue to welcome inward investment that not only diversifies our economy, but provides a draw to others to want to visit, and with luck, stay and call this place home, not let them go and invest somewhere else. Are we that against progress? Much is said about our Victorian past and the legacy of the industrialists of yesteryear, the beauty they left behind, and it's true, they made our city what it is today. But did they not face opposition, criticism, dreaded parochialism? We must not, of course, eradicate the past and must be careful not to build the St. Nicholas houses of the future, but we must be bold and progressive. And when a self-made man offers the city £50 million, plus a further £25 million if costs overrun, to create a lasting legacy of the industry for this city, then surely we should be beating a path to his door and asking how we can make this work, what is achievable. Frankly, where else in the world, faced with that tantalizing prospect, would people tell him to shove his 50 million where the sun don't shine? My view is, however, that we still have a window of opportunity, perhaps of a decade or so, to create that legacy. We have to go beyond our complacent comfort and put in place the foundations for the future prosperity of not only the next generation, but the following 2 or 3 generations after that. We need to be bold and visionary, as I've said, to provide creative but achievable solutions to our woeful infrastructure, to attract more inward investment to support your businesses, but also to diversify the wider economy. We need to be proud of your industry and sell it to all those ignorant of its benefits in so many facets of our lives. We need to be the global leaders in R&D, training and skills enhancement that will anchor people here for the long term. We need to be socially and culturally challenging and boast recreational opportunities that others can only dream of. Well done to Dundee for attracting the V&A, but why didn't we bring them here? Where's the Tate Modern, the major concerts, the festivals, etc.? I don't for 1 minute think it will be easy, but I do believe we're in a zone of comfort that seems to lead us to believe that we're all right, Jack. We all have a role in this, to cajole and encourage our youngsters to join you in your exciting industry, and to provide the facilities that will make this a globally attractive city. If we continue our complacent approach, we face the real danger of slowly but surely losing our way. Could we end up like Dundee did in decades to come? Or more frighteningly, could we become the Detroit of tomorrow? I know of one innovative American company that came to look at Aberdeen, but saw its woeful infrastructure and facilities and decided it could never persuade its staff to come. Listen to me. There are positives, major positives, and life is so great here. We are the powerhouse of the UK economy. Your ingenuity as entrepreneurs is unsurpassed, and we beat all other areas hands down. It is a great place to live and work. But we still need a call to arms to get involved and leave a legacy all of us can be proud of. We know this is a wonderful place with wonderful people. Just look at all you lovely people out there. We have the skills, the vision, resource, cold cash, and aptitude to do something better, to be greater than we already are. Surely we all want that. Congratulations to all of you tonight, and good luck with the awards. Thank you.